Welcome to Reader's Workshop today, boys and girls. The focus of today's lesson is to teach you strategies to help you repair meaning when reading doesn't make sense. Now, this is going to happen to you, and it's probably already happened to you in your life as a reader. But in 5th grade, you're going to read more complex and complicated texts than you have before. And one of the ways to feel powerful as a reader is to always have a strategy to help you overcome the moment when reading doesn't make sense. So in today's lesson, I'm going to share with you a few strategies you can use in the text that you're reading. I'm going to show you how to use those strategies. And the text we're going to read together is called It's in the Bag. I'm going to start reading this text now. How do you make a sandbag with no sand? It sounds like a trick question. But 12-year-old Peyton Robertson invented a sandless sandbag that could save lives and property during floods. I'm going to pause after that paragraph to try a strategy. And this strategy is called questioning yourself. After a paragraph, you want to ask yourself the question, what do I know so far? If you can't list anything across your fingers, then you might need to reread. But I know a 12-year-old boy invented something. I know his invention is saving lives. But I feel like I'm missing some important information. So, one of the most important strategies is to reread. But you don't always have to reread the entire text. You really only need to reread from where you lost meaning. And I know rereading can be difficult, but it's often one of the most effective ways to repair meaning. If you're tired, maybe wait till you're feeling a little more energized and then start your rereading. So, in this text, I'm going to reread the first paragraph. How do you make a sandbag with no sand? It sounds like a trick question. But 12-year-old Peyton Robertson invented a sandless sandbag that could save lives and property during floods. Okay, I think I understand a little bit more, but I'm still wondering, how do sandbags help during a flood? So, because I have that question, I can try the strategy called reading forward. Sometimes reading a little bit ahead can give you enough information to repair meaning. So, I need to read forward starting right here. Before hurricanes and heavy rainstorms, people often stack sandbags to form barriers to help prevent flooding. Ah, I see. The sandbags are stacked together so that the water can't get through. But the bags are heavy and hard to carry. Plus, water can seep through the gaps between stacked bags. Now, another strategy you can use, which I've been using so far, is to read out loud. And sometimes you might need to repeat. When you can hear yourself reading the text, it actually gives your brain another way to understand because it gives your brain more information than just looking at the text with your eyes. So by reading out loud, you're using your eyes and your ears. So let's take a look at that one more time, reading out loud and repeating. And I'm going to start in the middle of paragraph 2. But the bags are heavy and hard to carry. Plus, water can seep through the gaps between stacked bags. I can actually see in my mind water seeping between the stacked bags. We just practiced reading out loud and repeating, and I think we actually have a better understanding now. Another strategy you can use is to simply read more slowly. A lot of times we think it's kind of impressive to read quickly, but most of the time, when you read too quickly, it's often the reason why reading didn't make sense in the first place. Slowing down combined with rereading is actually a great fix-up strategy. Let's take a look at the next paragraph. So, Peyton, a sixth grader from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, decided to create a better bag. Below. It's filled with a mixture of chemicals and salt instead of sand. When it's dry, the bag is much lighter than a regular sandbag. When it gets wet, the mixture expands, keeping out water more effectively. There was a lot of information there, and this is a really good place for us to practice reading a little bit more slowly. So let's reread the underlined section. When it's dry, the bag is much lighter than a regular sandbag. When it gets wet, the mixture expands, keeping out water more effectively. Okay, I think what I understand is that the bag gets bigger and expands as it gets wet, and it's not as heavy to carry when it's dry. Another strategy you can try is to use the text features, and you are all experts at this. You have studied captions, labels, graphs, and noticing the details inside the pictures for years. Using these text features can help clarify information and help you understand better. So let's try that now. Let's take a look at the picture. This is a picture of Peyton's sandbag, his sandless sandbag. I can see what he has created, and it gives me an image of his invention. I should stop, look at that picture, and study it. Stop and think is truly the ultimate fix-up strategy. Stopping to think after each paragraph or page gives you a chance to pause and ask yourself, what do I understand? And what is still fuzzy? And we have to be honest with ourselves in order to truly understand. And to be honest with you, most adults usually read, and they have times when their reading is fuzzy, and they have to use the strategies that we just talked about. In fact, I reread all the time. I just have to be willing to take the time to reread in order to understand better. So, let's go through our strategies in a summary. We can use the strategy of questioning ourselves. What do we understand and what is fuzzy? We can always reread. We just have to be willing to do it. We can read forward. Sometimes we can read a couple sentences and gain a better understanding. We can try reading out loud and perhaps repeating it. We can always slow down so that our brain can process the text at a little slower pace. We want to make sure that we're looking at text features carefully and not skipping over charts, graphs, captions, and pictures because they hold information that can help us understand better. And of course, the ultimate strategy, stop and think. You don't want to plow through your text without pausing to be sure you understand. When your reading doesn't make sense, your goal is to use a strategy to repair meaning. So today, when your reading isn't making total sense, your goal is to try one of the strategies that we talked about today.